Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in my bio section of social media accounts. Also like the video, subscribe to the channel if you've done so already. Now the put to call ratio right now is at 1.02, 1.03. It's fairly high, but I mean, we'll have to see what happens. Now the economic calendar is what I'm looking at. Got a couple things to look at. Monday, nothing. Don't see anything as of right now. Tuesday, we got core PPI month to month and year for year, CPI. So we get some inflation numbers coming out, but it seems like every time the market has bad news, it just miraculously recovers like for out of nowhere. Even though Friday after hours we had bad news about Moody downgrading the U.S.'s debt something. I don't remember what it was exactly. That can't be good, but I'm sure somehow SPY will find that good news and go more, because SPY is just stupid. Just goes against all the bad news. Now on Wednesday, we get PPI news, retail sales, PPI core. So we get, a lot of numbers for inflation on Wednesday morning at 8:30, and that's about it on Wednesday. So yeah, so we get PPI, CPI on Tuesday, PPI on Wednesday. Thursday we have unemployment claims. A little bit of we get Williams, a couple of Fed speakers, Williams at 9:25 and Barr at 10:35. And on Friday we have really nothing on Friday. So yeah, the two big days, Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning for the inflation numbers. Maybe that will kick things off, or who knows. I don't have much expectations about SPY dropping at all, because it's just doing what it wants to do. VIX is bet 14, 20-ish. It should not even be down here with all the things that's going wrong in the world and all the things that's happening. It does not belong down here. But what I want, what the market wants, trade the market that you have, not the one you want. Right now, the market should not be doing this, but it is. I think that this week we could end up seeing a pop. One thing I want to point out, and I showed this last watch list, but no one said anything, because no one, I don't know, just don't know if they gave me any input or not. But this is the 4-hour RCT trend line, or 4 hour. I mean, anytime it gets above it and it's pointing down, it usually ends up dropping, and now it's below it, so it's probably going to end up going above it at some point. Question is, when will that be? Yeah. Sorry, my throat, phlegmy. Maybe we see something in the inflation numbers that it makes the market drop and VIX pop. I don't know, but I can't imagine it getting below 13. I mean, but you never say never. I mean, I always tell a room that you cannot say the market will never do this, because it will do whatever it wants, and anytime you don't think it will do something, it's going to do that. So don't underestimate the ridiculousness of the market, because it can just do some crazy things. So SPY is just too low. Why didn't I just change? There we go. SPY is just too low. I think something's going to end up happening. One of the things I'm looking at is like this. Look at this. Very, very light looking like this. Starts to drop, comes back up, breaks out a new high a day, and then it does a flush. Does the same thing here, drops. Basically what's happening here is everyone's inputs, and they're expecting a drop. So what they do is they spike it to take everyone out that was into puts, and then they'll dump it when no one's looking. And that's pretty much what they did right here. Everyone was into puts right here, and they popped it, squeezed them out. That's basically what happened Friday. Friday was probably more or less a short squeeze day. Everyone was piling the puts, thinking that this was the top, me included, and we were going to fill the gap right here. And they didn't fill it. They just said, "Oh, nope, not so fast," and they ripped it. Now they'll probably end up dumping it. Hopefully, Friday's news and the inflation number this week will end up dumping the market. Well, who knows if it will or not? Market just doesn't care. Only cares when it wants to care. Going into Christmas, usually we have a Santa rally, but to me, I think we've already had. This is pretty much a Santa rally right here. But who knows? We could end up going higher. I just can't imagine we would. But never say never. The hourly has a very big bearish divergence. It's making higher highs right here, and the RSI is making much lower highs right here. So we could end up seeing a big drop. What it will be, who knows? Sometimes it doesn't even take any news. Maybe the Friday news of the downgrade will be enough. Maybe it will be inflation, but I don't know. I'm not gonna count on anything until it actually happens. I'll just wait for it to happen before I end up waiting for it, because you think that the Friday's downgrade would make the market dump. I mean, think of gap up still. I mean, the market's just crazy. It's drunk on its own punch right now. So it just the gap is finally filled. Sorry, not full. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that Friday was just a way to take out the stops on the puts, and that maybe we'll see something this week. So with that case, bearish divergence, like I said, I'd watch it underneath. We're gonna, like I say, 433. That's so high. I'd watch it underneath 439. If I push to 435, then you get a gap fill at 430, 425. You get a gap fill at 420. But if it keeps pushing up, I'm not interested in calls at this point. I mean, I know it's consolidated and is pushed. RSI is just way too high on the hourly, and I get a big bearish divergence going on in the hourly. I'm not too interested in calls right now. We'll have to see what ends up happening. I mean, yeah, maybe SPY goes to 450. I don't know. I'm not convinced right now. VIX is way too low for what's going on in the world. Something's going to happen. What it will be, I have no idea. What it will happen. We'll just have to take it day by day on SPY. But Tesla. Tesla went up to let's see, gap resistance right here, had a rejection right here. Then it started to bounce on Friday. So I'd watch underneath the 205 area. I'd keep an eye on a couple spots. One, I keep an eye on underneath 206 for a push down to 200, down to the 191 area, which are even 190. And but on the hourly, we get an inverted head and shoulders. You get the left, you get the head and the right shoulder. It gets over, I can't even say 220. It gets over 220. It's probably going to push to 225, 230. And then when it gets over 230, we get a gap fill up here. So a couple things to watch for on Tesla. I mean, Tesla, it's got a nice setup on the hourly. Who knows if it will actually go. It rejected the 20 EMA on the daily. So right now, it's pretty much a flip of the coin on Tesla. I mean, it's got a nice setup on the hourly and daily. You can see the inverted head and shoulders right there, the left, the head, and the right shoulder. But who knows if it will actually play out. If it does manage to end up getting over 220, I think maybe it does play out. So keep an eye on both directions on that. I just dumped my mic. BA, it's the next one. Now, BA, inverted head and shoulders right here on the daily. You get the left and the head and the right shoulder right here. So if it does manage to get over, we'll say 198 or even 200, it could end up making a push to 210. 195. This is where it was rejecting big time right here, right around the 195, 200 area. So maybe it gets to 200 and doesn't break out and pulls back. Another thing to keep an eye on, but the inverted head and shoulders on the daily. So yeah, I mean, if it does break out, it could be a false breakout to get to 200, then end up dumping, or it could just get to 200 and take off. It's really hard to say. There's so much weekly resistance right here on at 200 on BA. Be very careful on that, because it's that's what I'm kind of thinking right now. after looking at the weekly resistance, that if it does end up breaking out, it could be like a fake out. So be careful on that if it does do that. So if it does end up faking out, I'd watch underneath 195 for push down to 190 and 185, 184, 185. Yeah. So keep an eye on that. Amazon going into Christmas season. It's had a strong run. You got what, quadruple top right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. If it does manage to end up breaking out over 144, 150 is the next big area, 160. Or it can just stall out and reject. Last time it was up in this area, it rejected at 145, end up dumping. So we'll have to see if that happens. We got a little bit of a gap fill down here at 125. Got a bearish divergence going on. It's making higher highs and it's making lower highs on the RSI. So we get the divergence going on the hourly. So Amazon, be careful of that. Microsoft, it just had a crazy tear. That's probably why the market went haywire. The market is just back to what, back, I don't know, 6 months, a year ago. It would never drop, and it would always follow that one or two stocks that is like raging up, whether it's Microsoft or it's Amazon or it's Apple. It's just one of those one or two stocks that would go green and the rest would be red. It would follow whatever's going green. It was just did ridiculous stuff back 6 months or a year ago. Microsoft had a crazy run on Friday. Big bearish divergence going on right here. Starts right here, and this is on a 357, and it's making higher highs, and the RSI is making lower highs. Daily RSI is well above 75. This is just ridiculous. Weekly is over 70. So last time I got over this area, 367, it rejected, which was right over here. We had a harsh rejection. Maybe we see that. I don't know. I would keep an eye on it underneath. I mean, 360 is pretty far away. I would keep an eye on underneath 368 down to 365, 360, 355, 350, down here to 345, 340. This is a big line right here, right at the 340 area. Who knows if it will drop that much, but the RSI is way too high on all time frames on Microsoft. So I'm going to imagine we're going to pull back on Microsoft. That's what I'm thinking. I could be completely wrong, but I can't imagine us having another ridiculous day tomorrow. But never say never. Netflix, another quadruple top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here on that. It rejected this 450 area. Not couldn't get to 450 yet, but it's rejected the 450 area quite a bit right in through here. I had the head and shoulders from left, the head and right shoulder finally worked out. And now we're back up here in this heavy resistance area of 450. Maybe Netflix gaps up a little bit and rejects 450 and has a nasty rejection off from that. Plus, huge. We've been diverging on Netflix since the earnings diverged. It dropped a little bit. Then it's diverging again right here. So maybe we drop. So I would watch it underneath 445 for a push to 430. Then 420, 410, 400 be a big psychological number. This is where it's been bouncing right here, and plus it's gap resistance right there, gap support from earnings. So likely will bounce if it gets that low. If it gets that low, so definitely keep an eye on that. Netflix, I mean, daily RSI is at 71, pretty high, so I think it's going to reject right up in here. I mean, even if it does 450, I think is the area really to watch on Netflix. NVIDIA, I was expecting NVIDIA to pull back, and no, this thing just raged on, just keeps going and going and going. Divergent again right here on the daily, hourly. It broke the head and shoulders pattern. Well, technically, no, because the head is up here. I mean, you could still say this is the right shoulder. The only way it's going to invalidate the head and shoulder pattern is when it breaks the head. And it has not broken the head yet. So, head and shoulders pattern is still there. Right. The left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder was right here at a bounce, but you can still say that's the right shoulder right there because the neckline is right around the 400 area, so that's a pretty big area. So whenever we see these big head and shoulders on the weekly time frames, they end up playing out, but they end up playing out like long term. So this could end up being something that plays out in the next 6 months or a year, who knows. But I'm expecting NVIDIA to maybe it gets to 500. Maybe it gets to 500. It's going to cancel out the head and shoulders. It gets to 500. It does definitely cancel out the head and shoulders on that. But it's going to reject up here. So I'd watch underneath 480 to 470 to 460, 450, 430, and 430. Got a little bit of gap right here. So get some area to move down. Just the RSI is just so high on the hourly, but it's not oversold. I mean overbought on the hourly and the daily, and it had quite a bit of a cool down on the weekly. So maybe it does get a push to 500 or 520. I don't know, but we'll have to see. NVIDIA's been so crazy lately. Meta. Another one, triple top right here. 1, 2, 3. Kind of watch this for it to reject. Yeah, if it takes off, it takes off. But we got a bearish divergence right here going on again. Divergences are everywhere this week. Whenever you see that everywhere, something's about to happen. The question is when. It's making higher highs. RSI is making, it's kind of flattening out a little bit. So let's divergence going on, and it rejected the 330 right here harshly. So maybe it does the same thing, or maybe it pops. I don't know, but I'm not interested in calls on that. If you want to play calls, it's up to you. I think the market, just too many divergences going on large time frames on too many of the big hitters. So I think something is going to end up happening. So if it does reject 330, watch it underneath 325, push it 320, 315, 310, 305, 300 on Meta. Apple is the last one. Apple is, I hate this stock so much because these guys are so sketchy all the time. They always like to, when earnings comes out and they know they're not going to beat earnings, what they'll do is they'll lower their guidance or lower their earnings estimate. And then when earnings comes out, they'll beat their lowered estimate. And Apple will rage like, oh my God, it's so great. Apple's doing so great. But people are forgetting they lowered the earnings estimate, and they lowered their guidance. So basically what they're doing is if you can't hit the ball over the net, you lower the net. And Apple is notorious for doing this. They do it all the time. Almost every ER, they do this kind of bullshit. And then right after they had ER, they had a news headline that they were slowing production of iPads and iPhones, and Apple is still raging. So it's crazy how it dumps on earnings and it lowers its productions, but it just keeps raging. It's just so stupid how Apple is pushing right now. I hate this company. The phones are junk. They just keep rehashing the same shit over and over and over, and you get these idiots that go buy all the latest new iPhones. I just don't get it. But right here, it's out of the 4-hour regression channel right here. So I'm definitely like seeing this come down. It's outside the Kellner channel on the weekly. I mean, there's so many things I'd be looking at on the short side. So yeah, it's outside the Kellner channel right here on the daily. That's not the weekly, that's the daily, sorry. The daily right here. Anytime it's outside, it comes to come back in. It's outside, came back in. Outside, came back in. Outside, came back in. Outside a little bit, came back in. But where you get a whole body candle right here that's on the outside. And it's diverging right here. Another bearish divergence. Look at that. Making higher highs. RSI is flattening, going lower. So big bearish divergence going on right there. I don't think it gets to 190. It can, but I think that we're going to see it drop here. So I would watch it underneath 185 for push to 180, 178, 176, 174. Basically every $2. 172, 170. 180 probably be more realistic. 180 once. 178 right here is where the middle of the Keltner channel is, which is the 20 EMA. See, it likes to come back down and retest that. That's just one day right there. I don't know what happened that one day. What day is that? 936. What did SPY do on 936? 936. Is this 936? No. 96. That's it. That's a little SPY dropped right there from 448 to 443. It barely dropped. What, $5? Yeah, it barely dropped $5 on that monster Apple dump. Yeah, it dumped hard, and Apple barely dropped. I mean, SPY barely dropped on that, considering that Apple is one of the biggest influences on the S&P 500. But yet, when it drops 20 points, not 20, 17 points, SPY barely drops 5. That's just ridiculous. That's just. But anyways, yeah, that's one thing on Apple that it's outside the Keltner channel. It's gonna pull back. Bearish divergence are everywhere. I keep saying over and over and over, are everywhere this week. Something's gonna happen. What it's gonna be? Is it gonna be Friday's afternoon news? Is it gonna be something else that happens? Is it gonna be inflation numbers? Something's gonna happen this week, I think. But who knows? I mean, I'm wrong time to time. I'm not always right. That's why we're just gonna trade what's in front of us and take it day by day, hour by hour, and we'll just adjust as we go. So that's why you need to be in the room. And that's going to do it for the watch list. So thanks for watching.